Isakson is next, if you'll forgive me. Senator Isakson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd be happy to defer if you're in a hurry. You know, I think it's ironic. Senator Roberts made an interesting observation, but for the last 6 days, the United States Senate has been debating the merit over whether or not 41 members of the NSA should have access to 2 phone numbers, the date of a call and the duration of the call, without any personally identifying information whatsoever. We're getting ready to take that authority away from them, yet we have the Commissioner of IRS talking about 104,000 Americans that had their identity stolen. And when I file my tax return on April 15th, they know how much money I make, how much my wife makes, what church I go to, who I give the money to, whether or not I had a casualty loss, where I buy stocks, where I buy bonds, where my money's deposited, and how much I owe on my house. So I just want to put things in perspective that this is an important hearing, but it's a lot more, that information is a lot more private, a lot more personally identifying, and a lot more dangerous for the average American citizen than whatever the NSA ever does, and they're looking out for our physical safety. Just had to make that statement. Secondly, it's ironic.
You summed that up very well.
Thank you. Experian just emailed me to tell me my credit cards just changed and I need to check with them on my potential of identity theft having taken place. And that just came in at 10:24 on my BlackBerry. So I had mine stolen about 3 years ago, and I want to commend the Department of the Internal Revenue Service for providing taxpayers whose identity has been breached with the right type of Experian or Equifax or protection to see to it their identity is protected, just like mine is being protected because of the loss that I had. I guess my question is on the IP numbers. Georgia is one of the states. There are 3, District of Columbia, Georgia, and I've forgotten the name of the other state, where Florida, where IRS gave taxpayers the option to apply for an IP number, which is a self-identifying number for a tax return. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And now there are 1.5 million of those IP numbers now issued. Is that right?
There are 1.5 million, excuse me, 1.5 million are issued to those who have been victims of identity theft. We've had the pilot program, and we've had a few thousand. We're trying to get more people. We're running it as a pilot to see what the cost would be and the burden would be. We've had a relatively modest take-up on that, but we're encouraging taxpayers to take advantage of it.
Have you found it to be a foolproof system yet, or is that why you're doing a test?
We're doing the test primarily to see what the burden on taxpayers is and what the cost to the IRS is. It is foolproof to the extent that you don't lose it. What happens with Social Security numbers is they're, out in the world. They're used for children's identifications in schools. They're used for everybody's Medicare card is a Social Security number. The IP PIN has no other use. So our experience thus far is we can authenticate to make sure that the taxpayer who gets the IP PIN is the legitimate taxpayer. If they keep it secure, there's no way anybody gets access to that number, and their returns, therefore, are safe.
It would seem to me that if the trial that you're doing in Georgia and Florida and district works and does seem to be foolproof, that you'd give every American taxpayer the ability to apply for one of those. I mean, you wouldn't want to make them take one for fear of some sinister government plot somewhere, but you'd certainly give them all the opportunity to get one.
Right. Our challenge, what we're looking at is with the PIN, if people lose it, we have a lot of people then, if we get, for instance, 50 million people with IP PINs and half of them lose them, we're going to end up with a tremendous amount of background noise just trying to make sure we get them the right PINs and replacement PINs. So that's one of the things we're looking at is how does it work when you have people who otherwise haven't been victims and sign up. But it is ultimately a way to go. When we get down to the bottom of it, our analysis over 4 or 5 years is authentication is going to turn out to be the key, whether it's authenticating you to get an IP PIN, which allows you to get in. We need, and that's what we're working on with the private sector in the states, we need to be together among all of us, have a way of sharing information about who is actually the customer. Who are you who you say you are? When you call us, you know you're you, but then you wonder why we have to authenticate you to make sure you're not somebody impersonating you. So it's a multifaceted approach we're having, trying a lot of different things to figure out, again, as the chairman said, how do we get even or get ahead of the game to try to make it, ultimately we'll never put them out of business. The goal is to make it so difficult and expensive that it's not worth their while.
Mr. George, I want to ask you a question. It'd probably be unfair of me to ask Mr. Koskinen this question, although he's welcome to comment if he does. But I've been thinking as I listened to both of your testimony that part of the best way to protect the taxpayer identification and limit fraud is to change the way in which we do our taxation. There's a Georgian by the name of Neil Bortz who wrote a book called The Fair Tax, which advocates going to a retail sales tax and eliminating the inheritance tax, the payroll tax, and the income tax. If you paid at the retail purchase a tax to the federal government to supplant those three taxes, would it not be a seamless protection against identity theft?
I cannot give you a definitive answer on that one, Senator. Suffice it to say, the more information, the earlier the IRS gets it, and the easier way of doing taxes would assist the system overall, the taxpayers and what have you. But the various proposals, such as the ones that you mentioned, I'm not certain whether they would have a direct impact on identity theft.
I'm not necessarily selling the proposal, but what I am saying is if I paid my tax to the federal government on a retail purchase and it was collected by the retailer who does that for the states anyway, it would eliminate any of this self-identifying information and the tax would end up being collected, which would be a protection against some of the identity theft. Mr. Koskinen?
I think that's right. If we didn't deal with taxpayers individually, we wouldn't have individual information. The issue globally would still exist, as with your credit card, and that is are criminals accessing enough personal information to access your bank accounts, your credit cards, your mortgage accounts. But from the standpoint of the IRS, if we were dealing with a system where we collected funds, the government collected funds with a value-added tax or a fair tax or something that did not require individuals to register with us, almost by definition, we wouldn't have a risk of individual identity theft because we wouldn't have individuals identified.
Mr. Chairman, my time's up, but I want to thank Mr. Koskinen for taking the time to invite me to the Chamblee headquarters of IRS in Georgia and giving me a tour. I appreciate the connectivity that you've done. I appreciate what you're trying to do.
Well, thank you, Senator.